So hello everyone, welcome. We are super excited to have you join our career transition panel discussion today. So you will be hearing today from few amazing ladies about their career journeys, and you'll also be getting a chance to ask some questions. So before we begin, let me introduce myself. I am Soumya Sri Vinod. I'm one of the co-directors of Women in Big Data Bay Area chapter. I lead the chapter with my amazing co-director, Erica, and we do it all with the support of our wonderful core members who work so hard to make it all happen. You know, we have some of them here today trying to make this a successful event as well. So just cannot do it without them for sure. And the agenda. So today we will first take a quick look at what Women in Big Data does and how you can be involved. And then we'll dive straight into a panel discussion, followed by a question and answer session. As we previously mentioned, this is your opportunity to get few of your questions answered directly from folks who have been in your shoes, like for anyone who's trying to make that career transition now. So a bit about Women in Big Data and our mission. So we aim to help build the workforce of the future. So we really strive to foster careers in data and the machine learning field for women. And we do our part to empower women leaders in the data field. So how do we do it? So we conduct sessions that develop like soft skills, technical skills. We conduct few workshops, and we also run a wide range of mentoring programs. And this year we have started our very popular hackathon sessions. So let's take a look at our journey. We launched in 2015 in the Bay Area with just 15 members. So we very quickly expanded around the globe, which, attests to the fact that an initiative like this was very much needed. And new chapters and our leaders used Women in Big Data as a platform to share their expertise and, just to support each other, which is also something, uplifting others is one of the key things that we have always focused on. So in 2020, we were granted the official nonprofit status. And so looking at our global reach, I mentioned earlier that, we started with just 15 members in the Bay Area. So currently we are in 6 continents with over 20,000 members and over 50 global chapters and still growing. So that's just amazing to see, what all we are able to accomplish as a group. And how does our membership profile look like? So we have members with a wide profile range. We have data scientists, core ML engineers, we have business managers, software engineers, to name a few. So it's like we have skills coming from different areas which we can use collectively to improve each other. So we recently did a survey within our membership community, and we found that the networking, learning from peers, and access to training were ranked as the top aspects of our community members enjoyed. And there was a lot of interest, of course, to attend sessions around technical topics as well. So how does our roadmap look like? So as mentioned earlier, we conduct various workshops and trainings throughout the year, and we have a wide range of mentorship programs. Some cater towards leadership, some cater towards technical. We have a wide range of mentorship programs, which has received raving reviews by participants. And this year, like I mentioned earlier, we have introduced a hackathon program, which will be conducted in partnership with highly skilled subject matter experts. And that will be an amazing opportunity for anyone who's interested in these competitions. So in 2024, next year, we plan on introducing few certification programs. And in 2025, we plan to conduct a couple of conferences, which will be like a perfect blend of knowledge sharing, celebrating all of us. So that's how we are planning to organize it. So keep a lookout for all these, announcements. Later, we'll share how you can be connected with us, the various platforms that you can monitor to understand when these programs will be available. So that said, it will be my honor and pleasure to introduce our panel moderator for the evening, Marilena. So Marilena, she is a core member of Women in Big Data Bay Area chapter. She is very passionate about data. She has a PhD in mathematics, and she has been in the industry for 20 years, and she's been helping companies draw meaningful insights from their data. She always brings in a lot of energy into everything that she's involved in. And she currently is working as a principal at Aquis Consulting Group, where she spends her time as a researcher and a data scientist. So please give a warm welcome to Marilena. And Marilena, the stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, Sumia, for such a wonderful and passionate introduction. Welcome, everyone. We have an amazing panel to introduce to you and chat about their experience in finding their space in the data science, the data world. So, ladies, you're amazing. You're all fabulous, and you're all very accomplished in your space. Maybe we start by introducing yourselves a bit. Just tell us where you are, what your role, like your 30-second elevator speech. Who wants to go first? Dimitra?
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Marilena, and welcome, everyone. I'm excited to talk to all of you today. So I started from Greece, studied civil engineering there, then moved to the Bay Area, and more specifically to study earthquake engineering at UC Berkeley. And then started working at a geodata company here. And that is where I started my first steps in data science. I started taking classes online through Udemy and Coursera. And then started building products, ML products for that company. So I gradually transitioned into data science. I stayed with that company about 7 years, then went back to school part-time to do an MBA. Again at HAS at UC Berkeley. And that's where I moved to Pinterest as a data scientist. I stayed for 3 years as a data scientist and then transitioned into machine learning engineering 2 years ago. So at the moment, I'm ML at Pinterest. And great to meet you all.
Thank you, Dimitra. We are very excited to hear about the journey coming from Greece as an immigrant, going from civil engineering to machine learning. What exciting story. Now, we're all data folks, so let's follow an order alphabetically. Elaine, you are the next person in the order.
Thanks, Marilena. And thanks, everyone. Excited to be here. I'm Elaine. I'm similar to Dimitra. I have a lot of roots in Berkeley. I went there as an undergrad and then went back to get my master's in the MBA in data science. I'm from LA originally, and I like to just sort of characterize my career as repotting myself a couple different times in different industries and functions, but really held kind of data to the core of it. That's where I started my career in terms of consulting around analytics and building customer experience apps. And then data and the love of data brought me to the education sector. So I was working on school sites and also in the nonprofit space for a number of years before going back to school. And since graduation, have now joined Scale AI, which is in the name itself, very immersed in the world of data, AI, and ML. So excited to be here with you all.
So two Berkeley folks, go Bears. Emiko, do you want to tell us a bit about who you are?
Sure, yeah. Thank you, and nice meeting you all. I'm excited to be here as well and being part of this panel. I have a background in research, so I'm a microbiology researcher. I did my PhD at UC Davis. So the whole time during that time, I thought I was going to be a researcher for my whole career. But at some point when I was doing my postdoctoral appointment at the University of Montana, I decided that I am no longer wanting to pursue that route, and I started to explore different routes, teaching, and also just generally trying to figure out where I could apply my skills that I gained while doing research. So some of it is like a lot of analytics, like and experimental design. So I started applying to jobs. I was getting nowhere. So I did a boot camp to try to pick up a little bit more skills, and I also started I kept teaching. So I also taught analytics on the side. And along came, I met some people in women in big data, and with that connection, I was able to secure my current job at V2 Solutions in San Jose, in the Bay Area. So that's where I am right now.
Thank you, Miko. A very interesting and diverse journey, and we're going to be drilling into how everyone flew through their path to their current roles. Now, last but not least, Rachel. Rachel, the floor is yours, and then we can jump into discussion. Sorry, guys.
Great. Hi, I'm Rachel. Also glad to be here. So I am a freelance data scientist based in New York, mostly focused on ML model development deployment. So half my time I've been working with MoveOn.org, a progressive political organization, working a lot of like text-based campaign models. And another part of my time, depending on the season, I'm working with other private sector clients and projects. So I actually became connected with this group because my last project at PwC way back when as an analytics consultant was with Marlena. So I know Marlena. And then between that and before I went freelance, I was the ML tech lead at Blue Apron. Similar to Dimitra, I started on the data science team and then made my way over to the ML team and then eventually led the ML team.
Awesome. So time for the juicy part. I know that everyone on this call is interested in learning more about the different paths to data science, machine learning, AI, whatever area you want to be in. We have 4 ladies that they all took different paths and they're all doing some similar, some different types of work. So what we're thinking is we're spending the next 30 minutes talking a bit about what drew them to data and data science, what was the path they took, challenges they faced, and get their advice, their collective advice to anyone who's considering following their path. We will allow 10 to 15 minutes for Q&A, so you folks on the Zoom can ask the questions that they are the most burning. What we want to achieve here is to show some of the different paths that can lead you to data careers and share some successes and some lessons learned so you can all learn from our mistakes. So let's start with the very broad question that is on my mind. When did you realize that you were interested in a career in data science? What was the point that you were like, okay, my current career doesn't fulfill me and there's something out there better? Who would like to start? Elaine, you are the one that did the biggest pivot.
Yeah. So I think in terms of what got me started and interested in data, to begin with, I think I really think about looking back, a lot of like just curiosity and, currents. Like there was momentum in the space and I got lucky in the circumstance. And I was just curious about, back in, I would say, the early 2010s, there was like this big conversation around big data, what can it do? And so thought that it was an interesting space to delve into, and then got some hands-on experience through project work, also with Marilena, in terms of kind of learning the ropes around it. And then I think continued to dive in. And I think that's what kind of led me to want to formalize more of my my path in that space, and why it kind of brought me back to school as well.
Awesome. And Rachel, you were always in an analytics career, but you kept going deeper and deeper and deeper. What was your motivation in kind of this exploration journey, and what brought you where you are right now?
Yeah, I think similar to Elaine, I think it was very interesting to be even like aging myself at this point, but I graduated in 2011 from undergrad. So like kind of as the industry was even being started up, and obviously it's has expanded so much since then. So I've always had an interest in statistics from high school, and then in undergrad I did a concentration in it. So as this was happening, I learned programming on the job. I just like kept kind of becoming more interested in kind of where things were going, and then like kind of slowly made my way into more of like a CS getting those skills, as well as with the statistics, being able to go into ML and data science. I think overall what has helped me get to a point where I'm freelancing, and a caveat is this, especially freelance tech, is very new as well, so I'm relatively new to this space. But I think what's really helped is being able to just kind of like persistently build those like medium and long-term skills, connections, and just really kind of just going for it, like not in like a extreme basis, but like just like like every other day, maybe like be able to focus on new skills or like learning about new technologies, and then also meeting other people. So like a organization like this is great because you meet other people who are working on interesting things, and then over time it pays off to a career path that you're more interested in.
Freelancing is definitely a trend we are seeing, and I'm expecting a few of the questions that will be popping up later to be directed at you, Rachel, asking about your experience. Now, I love when you said learning on the job, because that's definitely a way to upskill it. And I'm thinking back to the conversation when we first all five met about what we want to get out of this panel and our experiences. Dimitra mentioned a combination, again, the same thing, learning on the job and finding a way to reinvent yourself when it comes to being in data. Dimitra, do you want to take the whole group through your journey?
Yeah, definitely, would love to. So yes, what drew my attention towards machine learning and data was initially meeting a lot of people in the Bay Area that were in this field already. It sounded like super interesting. Then on my job, I was dealing with a lot of data and some like empirical approaches on dealing with these data sets. We weren't doing any machine learning. So identifying opportunities to create products that work using very simplistic machine learning algorithms was one opportunity for me. And it helped me not only get familiar with how you deal with data and how you do machine learning, but also help you market yourself later when you want to change careers and move to a pivot. It's good to be able to reinvent yourself and your resume, not only to gain the skill set, because the skill set you can gain it with many different ways, but also be able to actually present to your future employer that you can do these things and you have experience.
I love that. If your job is not what you want, you change your job to fit the job description you want to have. But I'm sure that our attendees are wondering, what are some challenges you faced, Dimitra? And I'll be asking other folks too, when you were deciding when you were reinventing your role to move you to the direction you want to go. Did you face challenges from your company or team, or maybe lack of tools?
Yes, many challenges. The number one challenge is knowing where you're going to go next. Where are you going? Because you have a career, you have invested a lot in that career. You probably love this career. You're not sure what is out there. So this was a problem for me, but I answered a lot of my questions through meeting people from the data science field and understanding what are the career prospects. how easy how easy is it to get a job there? Like, what is the interview process? What do they ask? What skills do you need to sharpen? So these were some things that I worked on first.
So work on your network, leverage the people you know, and go out there and meet more people, which brings me to Emiko's story, which was a huge transformation in the sense that she was looking at an academic career, being a researcher, and then realized that it made more sense for her to move towards data. Emiko, do you want to chat to us a bit about the challenges that you faced, and how did you leverage your network and other tools to land the job at V2 Solutions?
Yeah, so when I started actively looking for something other than like doing research, I was living in Missoula, Montana. I wasn't in the Bay, but what happened was the pandemic. So everything was virtual. So I kind of benefited from that people were like extremely willing to talk to anybody, even like in a virtual setting. It's just like, I had a meeting with a lot of people during that time. I granted, like, as you can imagine, I had my network, but then my network was mostly academia and biology settings, lab settings. So like, even though I talked to some of them, like, it wasn't like the connections that led me to the right path. So I kind of had to start like from scratch a little bit, building a network in a different area. And so again, like during the pandemic, I just like joined a lot of interest groups. I did have a lot of conversation with folks who be like scratching their head, like, yeah, you have like a different background. I could see why you think you could do this job, because like a lot of it is like convincing people, right? During those conversations, that's where I could convince folks, whereas like in resume it's a little bit harder because it's like just short format. I could write a cover letter, but if they don't read it, it was like a little bit harder. So I really had to lean in heavily on that networking so that people believe that I could do the job. So a lot of it is like, again, talking to people, being conscious about asking questions, asking, hey, do you think there's anybody else I could talk to at the end? Like trying to keep that connection going also. So that's really what I tried to do as much as I could, like in the virtual world and during that time, of course.
So challenges, I love what you're saying, Emiko, because you're raising the challenge. What if my network is not in data? How can I find people in the companies I'm interested, in the areas that I'm interested? So it's not about just networking. You need to be networking with the right folks. The other thing I would challenge a bit, it's not about you convincing people you can do the job. It's about being given the opportunity to show your skills that they're transferable to the role. Coming from a research background, you have skills that they're definitely transferable. There's coding, there is the ability to formulate a problem statement. All these skills are transferable, and you want to find a way to communicate that to the folks. I want to jump right now to how you build your skill set, because when you can pressure people to give you an opportunity, whether it is an internship, an interview, whatever, but you also need to have the right skill set. Folks talked about doing masters and doing boot camps, or even studying by themselves. But there's so many programs out there. Some are free, some are not. There's so many masters, and folks do have a day job. I want you ladies to give us your advice on what has worked for you when it came to upskilling yourselves, and what has not, or you wish you have done differently, so our attendees can learn from these experiences. Rachel, do you, and I think you've done quite a lot of exploring. So do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think it depends on where you are in terms of data experience level and where you're at in your career. So this is somewhat an answer to challenges in the past, but I think looking back, I would have, because I've done a boot camp, I think like maybe 7 years into my career, and then a part-time master's like at the 9 to 10 mark. I think what I would have done differently is done something like a boot camp much earlier, because like the amount of learning and the amount of time is just not as in depth as if you are later in your career where you would get as much out of it. So I think like a master's or something like that, and everyone has their own opinion, would be like kind of when you already have, you know, a fair amount of work experience and skills in this area. A boot camp, I think, is like initially giving you kind of like a high level overview of all the different things, but then ultimately you have to do more learning on the job or through other MOOCs, etc. I really recommend the Georgia Tech online masters. So at the time, I was only looking for a MOOC and then one of these internet, like a Coursera, Udemy, etc. And then I found this master's, and it was only $7K, and it was part-time and online, and there was like no reason not to do it. So when I was working at Blue Apron, I did this, but it was somewhat of a slog. It was like 20 hours a week of your time while working, so you have to take that kind of thing into account. But yeah, that's pretty much what my takeaway of my experiences have been.
And I'm still excited. You still think about Camus, a good thing, Rachel, because you are the first friend I have that moved to data, and you have been the poster person of anyone that was thinking career to data. Was like, wait, Rachel did that bootcamp. Let me give you the bootcamp Rachel did. So you are like a pioneer in that. So I'm excited to hear that you still think was valuable. But let me ask you this. Bootcamps are expensive. There's quite a lot of online courses right now. Do you still think that there is value in someone spending $5,000, $10,000 on a bootcamp, or could they get the same knowledge using online courses?
Yeah, so you could definitely get the same knowledge using online courses. It's whether how you learn. So if the structure of, you know, showing up in person or in a more structured setting at that velocity is helpful to you to be able to get it done, then it's definitely worth it. You could do it with Coursera. Obviously, you'd have to design it yourself. And then the other thing about the boot camps is that they over advertise this, but they do have like an idea of the employers out there, they have connections, but also kind of just like the thinking of everything in terms of like, how does it make you more attractive in the job market? Well, as like obviously a MOOC is more just about learning the material.
Fabulous, thank you. Dimitra, let's jump to you that you follow the traditional route of going back to school for and it was also a part-time, you were also working, but it was more of a traditional MBA while you had the data science knowledge. What was your thinking? What influenced your decision? What advice will you give to the attendees based on your experience if they want to move into a data science or machine learning career?
Sure thing. Yes. So first, I will start with the advice. My advice is you can achieve your goal following many different paths. Nobody was born knowing about data. The industry in general is evolving like really fast. So somebody that is a data scientist today might be not as, let's say, up to date tomorrow if they don't follow the skills. So keep learning. There are many different paths to go there, and it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So even taking on a very small course is taking you towards that direction. What I did was, while I was working, I took 10 to 15 different online classes. Initially, I took classes on Coursera just because I wanted to get a little bit of an academic background on machine learning and other data courses, and then moved to Udemy, which I found more useful as applications because it gives you like pieces of code and you start tweaking them around and playing with them. At the same time, I decided to do an MBA, which helped a lot with networking. I met one of my classmates actually was working at Pinterest, and they referred me, and that's how I got my first job. And I got other also, at the same time, I had other offers through my network there. And it was actually funny because I had the opportunity to do like an A/B test. My husband at the same time was doing Rachel's master in engineering, the CS master in Georgia Tech, which I have to say is amazing. It's like really good. I had the opportunity through him to get some of the material and study some of the courses. We are both doing today the same type of job. So I would say with very different types of educations and options, we were able to go where we wanted.
That is wonderful, Dimitra. Many paths lead to the end goal. It comes down to where do you want to go and how do you equip yourself to be to have the skill set. And I love your point about keep learning, because everything changes so fast. Emiko, you talk to us a bit about the challenges you faced when it came to upskilling yourself and demonstrating those skill set to prospective employees.
Yeah, so that's probably like one of the hardest thing for me. So I did a lot of schooling, as you can see, like I have a PhD. So my goal for a long time, well, not for a long time, but like it's not like I'm against school. I just didn't want to go that path. That was like, I was like, if I could get a job without having to go back to school, that would be great. However, I mean, I did a lot of self-learning, as all of us have done here, but I think there's a little bit of barrier of like, okay, how do I demonstrate without having some sort of a stamp, so to speak? So that boot camp, I mean, it gave me a soft stamp, right? There's still a lot of what do you want to say? Like a little hesitant to hire folks from boot camps, I think, if you don't have the right background. Boot camps, I think, can kind of boost you, and as Rachel said, like it could teach you a lot of the basic things all at once. And so I think you have to have the right background, that if you already have like enough skills to use those tools, they're giving you the tools to do so. But if you know the tools, but you don't actually know what to do with the data, they're not exactly helpful, right? So I think what helped me, again, I'm coming back to, that was really the hardest things for me to demonstrate, because I don't have a CS background, or, I mean, data science degrees didn't exist when I was in school. So obviously that wasn't a thing. So just kind of like talking to folks, and for me, it's like having a little bit of confidence in myself that I could do it. I'm like kind of fortunate in a sense that being in research, the unknown is not scary, because everything is unknown. Like nobody knows how to do whatever I was doing. So like that part of me felt like, okay, if I could show, hey, I've demonstrated I could learn. I demonstrated that I have enough analytical skills. I have strong critical thinking skills. I had that confidence in myself that I could do this. I just need somebody to give me that chance. So I think having a little bit of a blind belief, so to speak, was helpful. I think there's a certain degree of blissful ignorance that it's helpful when you're like changing careers, because you have to believe in something that you don't know it's possible, right? So like having that, like even if it's a tiny bit of faith, because it's brutal, like the job hunting is brutal, but just like having that confidence, like you know you could do it, you just need to have that chance.
That is very true. There's no end time in your job hunting, so you need to keep your confidence up, and I think that is great advice. Let me ask you two questions, Emiko. I sympathize with being like, I am done, I am not going back to school. I absolutely understand that. Is like, you have spent all your time getting your PhD and then you want to produce. Do you regret the decision of not going back to and doing a master's, a formal master's, and instead learning by yourself and doing the bootcamp? Or do you feel that the outcome would have been the same if you had a crystal ball and you could guess?
I have no idea. That's my honest answer. However, I don't, honestly, it might have helped. I actually don't know. But the thing about it is that, like, that's also something that I couldn't afford at that time. I already, I needed to keep paying rent. Like, I couldn't, like, the boot camp was a little bit more like, okay, it's short term. I could do this. I figure things out, like how to do this, like for like those 3 months. But beyond that, I just didn't see how I was able to do a master's and keeping, like, I was teaching, but there's also like a financial factor that I didn't want to prolong that stage of not having a little bit more cushion in my financial status. So I would say like each case is unique in the sense that, like, you have to be aware of what your needs are and what fits in you. Like, it's not a clear cut, like, do this, if that. Yes, like the background matters, but like you could always work on it long term. But in the meantime, you have to fill that gap that it's like life, right? So I think a lot of it is just more of a figuring out where that fits in you and how much of a skill battle you are willing to do.
Those are great considerations, Amigo. The financial burden, not all the courses are the same cost. The ability to do something without taking time off or with taking time off, and also the time to complete the course. How long will it take a bootcamp to complete versus a master's? All of this, and the individual circumstances of a person are inputs in a decision that will be made. So let me ask a person that actually took all those inputs and made a decision on her path and actually followed a path that I wasn't very sure I was agreeing at the time. So Elaine, do you want to talk to us a bit about your decision and what the different components of your decision in your data career, and what would you advise our attendees?
Yeah, I mean, I think I echo a lot of what my fellow panelists have already said about like the value of like going out and asking people what their experience was really a helpful input. So Dimitra was very generous with her time and experience, kind of giving me her advice, as well as Marilena. And I think also around, I think we touched a little bit earlier around like having that real conviction about why the certain path was right for me, I think was really critical after kind of gathering all those inputs. And I think my conclusion was that, any of the paths that I take would in terms from like a direct hard skills attainment would be able to satisfy it. And then like, but what are the other considerations, like the financial, the timing and everything else? And for me at that point, I had started my MBA. And so I was going to do that full time. And I had already quit my job, and it was in the middle of pandemic as well. And I think I underestimated like what a hard like e-break it was on my career to stop that and go to school full time. And my thinking at the time was, well, if I'm going to do it once, if I'm going to do it, I might as well do it once and do it well. And so coupled like whatever schooling I want to do, let's just knock it out of the way. Because I think coming back to school a little later in life, I think I was like year 9, 10, similar to Rachel in terms of going back to my master's, and just life looked a little different in terms of what I was thinking of. And I think that like conviction on why that path was right for me was important to hold on to, and also having a point of view in terms of like where in the data space would be easiest for me to both break into and where I would want to move into. And so I think for me, given kind of my background that was more kind of soft skills, not as technical. In terms of my first job, I think I was looking for the company being very technical, but my role, I was okay with coming more as like a softer entry point, knowing kind of the current market and economy that we're in. And, you know, hoping to be able to experience a lot of what folks here already talked about in terms of upskilling and learning on the job in a different means. So I think those are kind of different considerations of what led me to want to go to school and how I kind of thought about school in terms of my journey, you know, post graduation.
You touch upon great points, Elaine. You can plan as meticulously as you want, but life hits, and you also do not know how you will feel in the experience until you live it. So it's all about planning, talking to people, leverage your network, and going all in. I'll bring us to the last topic of our panelists, and then we'll open these to questions. I want to revisit something that Dimitra said, that the industry changes fast, and you may be a brilliant data scientist today, but things change so fast that tomorrow, if you don't keep up to date with what is happening, the trends, the knowledge, the technology, you'll be left behind. What are the major trends that you ladies are seeing that are shaping the industry that you think are going to change the way we do data science? And I think that maybe I'll ask Rachel to start first, because she touched upon the freelancing as being one of those.
Yeah, I think there's obviously other trends, but one thing I've noticed and I'm experiencing is they're starting to call it fractional work. So folks, whether they're full-time freelancing or they might just do advisory, like they have a full-time job, they might just do advisory calls on the side, or some sort of part-time work on top of their full-time work, because, you know, it's America and we all work way too much. But and then with that, I think within the trend of freelance, there's this, what I've noticed is there are pools of freelancers now that are now managed by, that you have like full-time staff. It's not quite like a consulting company, since everyone's still independent contractors, but there are there's like an overhead, a group that basically does most of the sourcing, and then freelancers bid, or they're directly connected with the companies in this way. So not necessarily like Fiverr or like Upwork or those panels or those websites, but I meant to say platforms and I said panels, so platforms. But a smaller, kind of more focused group of folks that have connections within different tech organizations. So that's what I'm seeing. I see it pop up more in the US and the EU, and I imagine it'll probably continue. So yeah, that's pretty much like the more recent trend that I think that's going to take off even more.
Emiko, any other trends you are seeing, or any points you think to add to Rachel's, since you're doing that hybrid, working for a company but working for a client?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I was not in tech before this, so I'm speaking from a very narrow point of view. I would give the disclaimer of that. Yes, like the technology definitely changes, and I mean, even now I still feel like there's a lot to learn for me. Like, and then as I learned, like there are new things that pop out. Right? I don't think that's gonna change, but that's why, like, the ability for us to be willing to continuously learn until I don't know, until I retire, perhaps. The ability to learn also quickly is going to continue to be important, and be adaptable at the same time, right? So the main point is, like, yes, there's a lot of companies like where I work that does kind of consulting / contracting at the same time, right? So a lot of us are going to continue to work. They're very popular, especially I think it's because a lot of the projects, when companies are trying to hire, they kind of want like a guarantee that they're bringing not just one person, but perhaps a little bit of a cushion, right? Not the one person that you hire, perhaps, but they also have somebody else that could help this person that it's directly working. Or they could bring a team for a short period of time. So I think those are like just like a way companies are adapting to bring in talent. I don't know if that trend's gonna continue, but I'm definitely seeing that's a popular model.
So we are seeing the need for different skill sets and the ability to be able to staff up and down on different projects, coupled with the need of folks to own their careers, creating a new model that is a bit more fluid, a bit more flexible. Elaine and Dimitra, from your part, Elaine, you are in AI, which is the hottest new thing, and I never thought that I would hear AI being mainstream, but here we are. And Dimitra, you're in Pinterest, a company that is very consumer-facing. It's part of everyone's lives, but I'm guessing they don't really think how everything works in the back end. From your side, any trends that you see in the data or data science or general our space that will change the way we view data in the future?
Yeah, I think kind of dovetailing on the conversation, like consulting and freelancing work, like I think that for folks that maybe want to upskill and do it in a practical way, like would really encourage reaching out to like local community organizations or nonprofits. Like I think there's an increasing general widespread awareness of what the value of data is, and I saw that firsthand when I was in education. Before, you have to convince people of like why you should look at charts, but now folks in the districts, in the classroom, were asking for them, and it was just more about conversations, how to use it and build processes. So I feel like that's like a way that I've been able to kind of keep engaged and keep kind of upskilling, as well as, you know, work in a place that I was really passionate about. I think in general, I think because, you know, kind of making it a little full circle, like before it was all about big data, and that in and of itself could be practice and capabilities. And maybe it's me drinking my current Kool-Aid, but really kind of the emphasis on like quality data, I think, is like the new conversation. How to get quality data, how to know what's quality data, and how to like continue to curate that, I think feels very relevant, especially in this world of where everything can be AI if you just attach that acronym to the back end of any compound word, right? And so what does that really mean, and how can it be useful and operationalized? I think really comes back down to kind of those nuts and bolts about what is the data that we're collecting and feeding in.
I will use this everything can be AI in conversations. I'll attribute it to you, Elaine. I love that. You're right, data as an asset is being recognized and becoming mainstream. Dimitra, you'll be the last person between we wrap up and open the floor to our participants for questions.
Awesome. Yeah. So through my data career, I've done like product analytics work, then prototyping, data engineering, prototyping ML algorithms, and then bringing algorithms into production. I think the one skill that is the highest of value is being able to draw meaningful insights from data and use this in order to drive important like product solutions. So being able to analyze data through different cuts, illustrate different things, and be able to understand what is happening underneath the data is the most important thing, which of course, as Elaine said, means you know how to create pipelines, analyze clean data, and visualize everything. Then on the other end of machine learning, I started working with recommender systems, but now the last few months, we see the crazy with ChatGPT and LLMs. So this is a new skill set that I think is going to be more and more desirable by employers everywhere. So definitely, if you're interested in ML, I would say just take a simple class online to understand what they are, what they do, and some information about how they work. That's all.
Fantastic. So the new dawn of data is looked as valuable. Quality data, how do you use it correctly and how do you draw the right insights while having a flexible employment model. I love that. And this brings us to the end of our fabulous panelists, but who will stick around and answer questions. And I already have the first question. And Diana, this question is probably for Rachel, but anyone else that can answer that, please do that. Diana is asking us, how do you get connected with these fractional work platforms or companies?
Right. So the one, so I can obviously only speak to my own experience. The one that I'm connected to in the US, it's referral based. So yeah, happy to discuss more about that individually with folks. But this is actually a good example of like this deeper networking that I was discussing earlier. I had heard about this network through a mentoring call that I had gotten connected with like a skills-based volunteer organization that I was working with. And then once I started speaking with this network, the GM and I realized we both had, he had worked at a skills-based volunteering organization that I had previously volunteered with. So it's just, it's like stuff from like 5-6 years ago that you don't expect. You're like, I'm curious about this and I, want to build my career, but then it, in some way it pays off much later. But yeah, happy to discuss more offline. The one in the EU, there's a few, like, so some of them you can just kind of just like join and then just talk to people and then they post stuff. So yeah, I would say it's like a combination of referrals. And then I think the way I was looking at this when I was scanning what was available was ML freelance networks, and then a handful could pop up. I see there's another question. Should I answer that too?
I think well, the second question is, hang on a second. There was a question from Marie-Lenise. I love your name, Marie-Lenise, and it's totally unbiased. It doesn't sound like mine, not at all. So question for Rachel. What was the mastering that you did at Georgia Tech? And the bootcamp, that was Metis, right?
Yes. Yeah, there's probably a bunch of other boot camps at this point that are similar or just as good, or if not better. The master's was it's a master's in computer science, and you can do different focuses. So machine learning would be the focus here, and then I think they have some for like data security and other non-data concentrations. So yeah, highly recommend.
And Dimitra, there is a request for you to share the classes that you suggested for folks to take, because Marie-Lenise missed it.
Yeah, definitely. So there is in Coursera, there's a very good course by Andrew and Jay. It's a specialization, actually. It has different courses. It's called Deep Learning Specialization. This helps you get some general understanding and, let's say, theoretical foundation about what is machine learning and deep learning. And there is also deeplearning.ai, again, from Andrew and Jay, which has a lot of really good content. And I was discussing a little bit about generative AI and LLMs. So I can also post some links from Coursera that there is a class related to LLMs again, which is high level, but still really good from a first acquaintance with a subject.
Rupa, what is the right way to get these links to the participants? Can we email them with the links after this call? What's the most effective way?
So we will email through a meetup message. We will email them.
Fantastic. There's two questions. I'll start with this one. There is a question whether it is allowed to reach out to the individual panel participants on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me, but I do think that every person will need to give their permission. I do not know if we have a policy on this topic, Rupa.
No, it's individual based. So, they can connect with the panelists on LinkedIn, and it's, let them have the connections over on LinkedIn.
Yes.
It's up to them. Yeah.
Okay. And a question from Ashley to Dimitra and Emiko. So I think that we have a scientist that might be thinking of transitioning. The question is, did you ever miss your old career when you were in science? And versus now that you transition to more data, more business strategy? Who wants to go first?
I can go first. I struggled initially a lot, thinking that I will miss my career too much. I would say that I fell in love with my new careers probably. I think data is so versatile and flexible, and if I want to go back to my old career, I guess I could and have a much more rich skill set. So no regrets at any point. I think it is very valuable to start gaining knowledge into this new section. Not really new, but data analytics and machine learning are going to be applicable everywhere. So any skill set you have, it's probably going to be applied to your old career if you ever decide to go back because you regretted it.
And Emiko, do you want to share your?
Yeah, sure. I think because I invested so much time and effort into becoming a researcher, that was actually really hard to let go. I could talk a long time about this, so whoever's asking, if you want to talk about it offline, I'm more than happy to talk about that. I do miss it. I've missed the biology part of it. I'm not working in biology right now, but I'm still using the same skills of thinking about like how to solve a problem. And so those things haven't changed. Well, they've changed, but they're just in a different format, packaged differently, I feel like. So I hope that gives you a little bit of insight of how it feels.
Well, you always miss parts of your life that you move on, but they were also the building blocks that they help you become the person you are. We are approaching the time. I don't know if we can go a couple of minutes over to answer all the questions. Are asking about the hackathon, and you're the hackathon queen, so maybe we send the information as well. There is a question from Onome that she's thinking of transitioning from an academic role in public health consultancies towards data analyst roles. And she's thinking she needs to learn about data scientists and what data analyst, data scientist roles. Is Coursera a good place to start learning the skills there? Or would you recommend something else? Who wants to take this question?
I could jump in. So this question is about some elaborate difference between data analysis and data science.
Well,
yes,
that's the next question, but you can take a stab at answering that. The first one was from Onome. Is Coursera a good place to start learning the skills you need to become a data analyst or a data scientist? But maybe we answer those two questions together. I think you're on the right point.
Yeah, that's a very good question, actually. There is definitely an overlap. To be a good data scientist, you need to be an excellent data analyst. However, data science, I feel, also has a scientific components towards machine learning and prototyping. However, the roles are not very distinct in that many data analyst roles are more scientific than other data science roles. So it really depends on the company and what they want. That's why it's really important when you apply somewhere, you talk to the manager, you talk to people in the team, you understand what the role is all about. Because I've seen data analyst roles that are essentially doing like machine learning engineering portions of the work. So it's really all over the place. However, I think both directions are equally important in different companies. And yes, Coursera is a very good point to start. It has excellent both analysis classes and ML classes. So you can start there and go to Udemy next after you gain a little bit more academic background from Coursera. And there are, of course, like other platforms as well, like deep learning AI and other things that will help you.
Thank you, Dimitra. You're right. There is overlap between analysts and scientists, data analysts and data scientists. I tend to think of the data scientists as the people that they build models. So more scientific. Are you building a model? You're a scientist, especially if you're using advanced techniques. Versus an analyst, a person that manipulates data to draw valuable insights, sometimes with simple tools. In most organizations, these things bleed together, and Dimitra is right that you need to be a very good data analyst if you're going to be a scientist. But at the end, it comes down to how do you enjoy working with data and analytics? What do you like doing? Do you like more of the business side? Do you like more of, I'm going to build my model, I'm going to test my model, and that's what I enjoy. Do I enjoy the discovery? Do I enjoy the packaging and the presentation? There's so many things you can do with data, and data is everywhere. So having a very strong data skill set, being able to analyze data, being able to model data, being able to translate data into plain English for people to understand, those are skill sets that would be useful in many roles. I think that there's a last question that I think that is very, very important, and that might be the last question we take. Dominica took a data analytics bootcamp. She's working on improving the curriculum for the bootcamp. She's developing content. So she's building the skills, learning on a job, but she is not sure whether she has the right skill set to transition to the industry. So she has the technical, theoretical expertise, but no real industry experience. Amigo responded by saying, build your project and volunteer on a project. So boost your portfolio. Dominica, I will add something else. Make projects and add them on your resume. But to Rachel, Elaine, and Dimitra, any advice on how do you demonstrate that you have the skills when you don't have relevant industry experience?
Yeah, I'm happy to kick off or jump on this one. I feel like because I'm a career switcher, that like trying to think about how to come from a position of strength and then move into like where I do want to develop. I realized for me at least, like that was like part of the dance I was doing of whether or not I wanted to try to do one jump in both industry and function, or is it that I keep my same function, go into tech first and then build skills while I'm there, which is the path I ended up taking. And so I think that, where can you tell the most compelling story so that you can make the moves you want to make kind of in the near or longer term?
Yeah, I think in addition to that, things that has helped me in the past is if you have a current job where that's data oriented, that you can kind of like advocate or shape your current project or anything that you're working on more into the type of work you want to do. I think we were talking about that earlier in the panel. And then also a big thing that I a little bit alluded to in my last response is skills-based volunteering. So there are a fair number, I mean, it's not, everyone must get paid, but like I think it's, there's a lot of nonprofits that aren't able to have, full-time data teams, which makes sense. Like there's a lot of other things that they're working on as well as budget. And then there's also data scientists and ML engineers who want to try out more interesting, innovative stuff that maybe in a regular for-profit company doesn't make sense to do some of this stuff. So I think both parties win out, and then you're able to speak to that experience at a potential new job, et cetera. So I would just keep volunteering in mind.
Awesome. So I think that it's fantastic that we went over. Now let's talk a bit about women in big data. This is we would love to have you be part of this group. Women in big data is a fantastic group in the sense that you can be as involved or as not involved as you want, but there are always interesting events and conversations happening and people willing to give advice. So please, please, please consider joining us, find a local chapter, and consider joining the hackathons. Reach out to the panelists, connect with questions, but most importantly, in my opinion, think about how fabulous you are. This is not a journey that you're doing alone. You're doing it with many more women that you can meet through this group. And you are going to essentially, you can be part of the solution. Empower yourselves, be confident, keep trying, and maybe in a couple of years, you'll be on this panel, or you'll be rallying people like I am, trying to get them to do panels. Thank you, Elaine, Dimitra, Amigo, and Rachel. You are absolutely amazing. You're all fantastic women. I cannot wait to have you on more panels and more involved in this. And Shumia and Rabu, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Great job. So really appreciate all of your time. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Good luck, everyone. See you at the next event.
Thank you.